giant classic music for the premiere. It's football season. You got to go NFL Films. Welcome to the premiere of MVC Gridiron Weekly. It's Tim Wood alongside sports writer Hall of Famer in the Merrimack Valley. He hates to hear that, but Hector Longo, how are you?
Hall of Famer equals old in your words, right there.
No, quality. All about the quality.
Speaking of old, Tim, I just got a request for music from something from the 1990s as opposed to that old school.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So maybe we'll get into the 80s next week. We'll start to move it up. I just went classic NFL Films to start it. So welcome to MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. So what is this? This is the premiere of what we hope to be a tradition, like no other.
And hopefully it extends into the winter season.
Yeah.
Obviously in basketball, and I just think it's a great opportunity here to talk about something we're all very passionate about in this area of the woods, Merrimack Valley Conference athletics, specifically in the fall, football.
It's it's a passion of ours. We've got our third host who's actually on the road, Bill Bryant. He's my co-host on Ranger Nation Radio. Now that's a Methuen-focused show, folks. We want to make it clear. This is all about the Merrimack Valley Conference, so we will be talking about every team around the conference. If it's Merrimack Valley high school football, we're talking it here. That's every corner of the conference. And to start this week, I mean, the best game, the craziest start of the season last night, Bill Ricca, 54, Lowell 49. Insane game.
Week one did not disappoint. Obviously, it's early, but that game was the showcase game in a weekend where the Valley stepped out and had a 4-3 mark against non-league, non-Merrimack Valley teams. Held up well against that, but clearly that small school clash in week one between crossover clash between Lowell and Bill Ricca, small versus large. Certainly, I believe Coach Sigsbury said from Bill Ricca that the people got their $5 worth.
They got their $5 worth. You saw that too.
Memo to the administration of Bill Ricca: you can charge $7 for stuff like that.
Oh yeah, seriously, you're gonna go that heavy on the offense. I'd pay $7.
Yeah, great football game, obviously. And those numbers are a product of the spread offense and how the game is morphing at this level already. But honestly, to see two teams perform like that, ready to go in week one, is pretty scintillating, considering if you took Thursday night's NFL opening night as a measuring stick, just on the execution alone, Tim, just getting it done offensively, the kids were ready to go. So
we want to send some shout-outs real quick. First of all, Val Davila at Davila and DeFusco, huge thank you. He's supporting the show out of the gates. We're going to be looking for sponsors throughout the fall, but listen, we wanted to get this off right. Val stepped up, but we'll let you know how, if you want to get involved, you can get involved in the show for sure. So it's going to be streaming on Facebook, on Periscope, on YouTube. You're seeing it on Facebook Live on the Loop Weekly page. I'm the owner of Loop Weekly here in Methuen, so we started it on the Loop Weekly page. You can also see it on the Loop Weekly Twitter account on Twitter, Periscope, and then Loop Weekly TV on YouTube. But we'll give you those numbers. We got a lot of social media as well to get involved in. A lot of action on social media last night. Nolan Houlihan's father was a very proud father last night for Bill Ricca. Nolan threw passed for 320 yards, 6 touchdowns in that 54-49 win.
You know the fact that he spread it around, Tim, too. 4 different guys caught TD passes.
Colby Cyrus, Anthony Morales, Nick Galtieri, Sean Colby. Yeah, right. Spread it around.
And Cyrus caught 3 of those. It was a big night offensively for them. And look, it's tough to overlook it because if you picked the fantasy player of the week, you wanted Kevin Ty from Brendan Ty from Lowell High,
and he didn't disappoint.
No, absolutely. I mean, with the 6 TDs, 3 different ways, couple interceptions, he pretty much dominated the game, except for the fact that Bill Ricker put up 54.
So, just to give you a layout of the land as we start the show. So, as we start the show, we're going to talk about the couple of showcase games of the week from Friday night. Then we'll get into to some interviews today on the lineup today. Hector's been working the phones hard. Contacts galore. The technological Rolodex. Remember Rolodexes?
Absolutely. But it's funny, in 25 and now going on 30 years covering high school sports, Tim, you meet these people, and I've developed a lot of friendships over the years. There are a lot of good people out there in this, and on the adult end, and some of these kids, like hopefully. We're set to speak to North Andover's Jake McElroy today. He's a kid I've known since in the 4th grade, and has never disappointed as an individual or an athlete in my eyes.
And that's really the key, isn't it? It's student athletes. It's who they are as people, and that's what we're here to celebrate just as much as the football. Quite honestly,
sure.
It's just the accomplishments of these kids, the sportsmanship of the coaches, the parents, just the excitement around the league.
Yeah, look. You find these guys over the years, you develop these things, and you talk to them, and you realize it's pretty cool to be around.
Yeah.
It's pretty darn cool to be around. A lot of the kids are lucky to have the role models that they do coaching in these different circumstances, because if you look around this league, I think about E.J. Perry and Andover, a kid who I entrusted my son with at football camps in the summer, and Chuck Adamopoulos at Central, and the way Tim O'Connor at Haverhill, watched over my son-in-law at Haverhill High School, and kept an eye on him, and even though he wasn't a football player, and just quality guys around, and I could go on. There are guys all over the valley, obviously. It's really an excellent thing, and the one thing we have here, and I've said it vociferously, both in conversation and on the media and social media, is there is a passion in the Merrimack Valley. It's a very strong feeling about the sports. This is not the best athletic conference in the state, talent-wise.
But the passion.
Years. But the passion is something that's unmatched, and I'll put it up against any league out there right now. And
so our goal is just to tie that all together. There's a lot of pockets of information, a lot of pockets of passion. Our goal with this, and it's not rocket science. There's been shows out there before. Our attempt with this is to take advantage of social media, take advantage of the new ways to get information out there, stream the show, and really bring the excitement to you every week. Now this week, and by the way, the logo and the scores that you're seeing streaming across the bottom of the screen here. Huge shout out to Chris Calisi, our designer at Loop Weekly. He designed the logo, and without even asking him to, he put together these score graphics that you're seeing across the bottom of the screen. We'll get to all the scores, but you're seeing them on the bottom line, I guess, our version of the bottom line. And huge thank you to Lou Blasi behind the glass for pulling together the technical side of this.
Chris did a great job. Looks great.
Right?
Yeah.
No, and that was a surprise last night. And huge shout out to you for putting that in.
I had to find some real estate for it, but yeah.
Huge shout out to Lou for getting that in last second, because that was a complete shock. That is part and parcel of the excitement. Chris heard about what we're doing and was just like, I gotta be in on it. He designed the logo, and then he just kept going from there. So huge shout out to Chris. We're gonna have Bill Bryan. I think Bill Bryan is gonna call in from the road. Proud father of Connor Bryant, the new QB for Methuen. He'll be our co-host, kind of the parent side of this, and he's Methuen guy, but Lawrence grad, huge MVC guy. Connor debut last night in Methuen's 41-16 win over Malden Catholic. Big game for Connor, big game all around. We'll get to that a little later. The other real big game of last night not so close, but in terms of interconference, Tewksbury came out and showed they're ready to go against Lawrence.
You know, I talked to some people about Lawrence because I hadn't heard too much about them in the preseason, and a lot of people said they had been tearing it up through the scrimmages.
Yep, 7-on-7s. Yep.
You know, and I won't lie, my people in Tewksbury, there was a little panic yesterday during the day. You know, there was wonder what's going to happen, and I, of course, assured them that they were home under the lights at
the first opening night.
Yes,
under the lights in school history.
You know, the athletic director there, Ron Druin, did a nice job. Get the lights portably stacked up. They had a good crowd. Look, Tewksbury is Tewksbury. It's been Tewksbury for a bazillion years. Brian Elwood and his son has now coaching his son Shane on this team. They were worried about not having the same quality athletes that they've had in years past, the Matovus, players like that. This is going to be another quality Tewksbury football team. And I think if this game and the Billerica game showed us anything in 1 week, it showed us that maybe all the pundits, myself included, were a little too quick to say North Andover is going to dominate in that small division.
And taking nothing away from North Andover.
No.
Because they're locked and loaded, and a lot of their stars are back from last year.
Still the team to beat, but that division is not the walkover that I think
just write it off.
A lot of people might have thought of early on. I mean, if Billerica's going to put up 54 points against a D1 team like Lowell, you have to figure they're legitimate and they're going to factor.
So if you're listening live on Saturday, you want to call in and talk MVC football, it's 978-659-0072 is the number to call. So our guest today that we've got scheduled, we've got the aforementioned coach at Billerica, Dwayne Sigsbury, calling in shortly, and then after that, as Hector mentioned, we'll have Jake McElroy, the QB from North Andover, and then later in the show we will have Haverhill coach Tim O'Connor.
Now, you mentioned Dwayne Sigsbury. The one thing that man has done everywhere he's gone is win in football and in basketball, but he's a guy whose programs have been utterly successful. So Billerica could be on something that we're talking about, a little bit of a comeback. You know what I'm saying? This is a program that, I want to say 15, 20 years ago was a dominant power in the MVC. They had legendary battles with Central Catholic on a certain amount of Friday nights, and with Chelmsford on Thanksgiving. The lore of Billerica football is there. There is a tradition. And if he can find a way to rekindle things, it's always good when Billerica is good in the Merrimack Valley.
7-4 last year, and boy, that's a statement last night for sure.
Sure, yeah. So I have a lot of confidence that's going to happen. And again, when Billerica is good, it's a good thing for MVC.
So rest of the scores around the conference: St. John's Prep 43, Haverhill 14.
Yeah, tough night for the Hillies. As Tim O'Connor said, and we'll talk about that to him later, that's a good St. John's Prep team. That's a team that was 5-6 a year ago, and I get the feeling that they're not going to be a 5-6 team. I believe they were in the Herald's Eastern Mass Super 8 to open the season on Dan Ventura's preseason poll. So that tells me that there's a lot going on at St. John's. With the recovery from a reload year, basically last year.
Now we, as we mentioned, we do another show here on Facebook here on the Loop Weekly page called Ranger Nation Radio, and that's focused on Methuen. It's Wednesday nights. We had the captains from Methuen in here Wednesday night. Aaron Surth, Ian McKinnon, West Korea. They every one of them said, Ricky Brutus, mark it down. Ricky Brutus will be the name to remember, and did not disappoint. 5 touchdowns, four rushing touchdowns, one punt return touchdown in the 41-16 win over Malden Catholic.
Yeah, Methuen is a team that I think a lot of people were wondering, with a lot of holes. Brutus has dominated the preseason and showed it last night.
And they said we've got we lost a lot of talent. 30, I think, 30 of their stars. They lost Perdomo. They lost Travis Manning, Bryce Smith, Kwaki, their running back. They lost a lot of talent, but they'll tell you they've reloaded, and it's going to be. We'll get to it later, but Tewksbury coming into Methuen next week. That will be your real first kind of litmus test of how that's going to shake out. Franklin 34, Andover 10 last night. Tough start for the Golden Warriors. Drake at 34, Westford 7, North Andover 35, as we mentioned, Woburn 7, and then Central Catholic off to a huge start, 48-6 over Dartmouth. Finally, Acton Boxbury 28-0. And if you're missing me saying the scores again, they're scrolling across the bottom of the screen. So we got our first guest on the line. Very excited to welcome into the premiere episode of MVC Gridiron Weekly, Bill Ricca coach Dwayne Sigsbury. Sir, how are you?
Very good. How are you guys doing?
Very good, very good. Really appreciate you joining us here on the program today. Tim Wood here, alongside Hector Longo, who's texting you, I guess.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Coach. Huge win last night. I mean, tell us just, you had one of the Coach of the Week just in terms of everybody got their $5 worth last night, but just tell us a little bit about how the game played out.
Well, it was just, not a lot of defense was played, I can tell you that, but, it was a track meet. It was, you're coaching the game, but, at the same time, just saying to yourself, this is really an unbelievable game for fans to watch. When they scored first on the second play of the game, and then it was just back and forth the whole first half, and they got a lot of great athletes. Brendan Pye's unbelievable, Dylan LaRosa, and they've got some enormous linemen. They're pretty good. There were some guys that played last night that weren't on film against Burlington in the scrimmage, that's for sure.
Dwayne, when you have a kid like Nolan Houlihan, at what point in the year, and I'm talking, is it February, is it July, do you say to him, hey, Nolan, we're going to put the ball in your hands and you're going to be able to throw it around. Let's go. And when does that happen?
I mean, he's been the backup for the last 2 years, and he's done a great job at the JV level, JV and freshman program. Had great success when he was the quarterback. He got a lot of minutes last year in some games that we had well in hand, and our guys start the Monday after Thanksgiving in the weight room, and he knew. We didn't even have to tell him. He knew that the ball was going to be in his hands, and then our sophomore quarterback DJ Sagdal put a pretty good push on the preseason, and we're lucky to have two great quarterbacks. But Nolan's his ability to throw the football, and he has a great touch, is just setting a little bit apart from DJ.
Does it hurt when you've got guys like Colby Cyrus that are Velcro to the ball, right?
Yeah, no, we have great receivers. We really do. Our sophomore and junior class, we just have unbelievable athletes. We just don't have any size right now. We do have size, but those guys aren't ready yet. They're only sophomores and a couple of juniors, and we're just a very young team. And it was great to have that experience last night. We've been able to score all preseason, against St. John's Prep and teams like that. And we're just young on defense, and we're working to get better, and we will. But it's just a work in progress right now.
When you're a multi-sport coach in an era where you're looking to drag athletes out, you have to compete for kids, where kids are looking to specialize now. How important is this offense, this kind of a wide open attack? How important is that to keep it fun for the kids, to attract them to your program?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. One of the guys want to specialize, and they get sold, a better bit from an AAU coach, or some coach that pay in to get extra workouts, and you should only concentrate on this sport and that sport. And for the most part, we've been lucky in the record since I've been here. The kids have been coming out and playing because sometimes it's like playing basketball on turf. The ball's moving, it's bumping around, and they just they love it because they know that we're going to run the ball first, but they know the ball's going to be in the air, and they kids love it. They have fun with it. We practice fast, and the kids like it because it's not just 3 yards in a private bus all the time. It's a lot of fun for them. So the offense does definitely help keep some kids that probably wouldn't play, that would come out to play. Definitely really does.
All right, last one for me, Dwayne. I think I was quick to coronate North Andover as the team to beat in the MVC D2 here. Do you belong with them? Do you feel like you belong with them? And do you feel like there are other teams that belong with them?
Well, I think every year changes. I think we've been lucky with great teams, the past 3 years. And I think that, other teams played young kids while we had strong teams, and now we're playing young kids when other teams have strong teams and, great senior players or kids that have had lots of varsity experience. I know that our guys will fight and claw and play as hard as they can against everybody. And I know that our kids and our coaching staff, we don't want to take a backseat to anybody. You're going to get the best effort every time you play against a Berwick team, and that's what Berwick is all about.
Hector tried to bait you into some bulletin board material there. So, not your first rodeo at all. That was that. I'd run your political campaign after that answer. That was awesome. So, Coach, I know that obviously coaches don't like to single out guys as much, but I mean, in terms of pleasant surprises, in terms of the way these guys reacted last night, who are the unsung heroes of that game last night? The guys that don't necessarily aren't, we've obviously got Nolan and Colby and Anthony Morales, Nick Gualtieri jumping off on the stat sheet. But I mean, who are the unsung heroes last night?
Mike Gable's never going to get a lot of credit because he's defensive lineman and offensive lineman, but he's we lost him last year for 16 for the concussion, and that was the difference for us last year. Probably not winning the conference outright. He just physically couldn't come back. He had a major concussion, and when he came back, we were a dominant football team again. And he's just as dominant this year, probably even better this year because he's 255 now and strong as an ox and can run like a running back. But he's an offensive lineman for us, and he's just had a crazy preseason with a stomach, bacterial infection in the stomach, and he just, really became healthy last week, and he's just one heck of a football player. He's unbelievable. He was the reason last night we were able to move the balls because he was able to block those big guys from rolling in the middle. And he's just a fantastic player, and he's only going to get better because he's really not in game shape because of the infection he had. And then we have, he's just a tough kid. He was an all-conference player last year. And Nick Gualtieri, they're both junior captains. And he's a heck of a player. And he missed almost a week and a half of the preseason with a back problem. And he just came back healthy last Tuesday. And, you saw glimpses of it last night. He just really wasn't in game shape to get him the ball that much. But he made big plays when we needed it. We have great underclassmen. We really do. Our sophomore, freshman, and junior classes are just awesome. And our senior class is small, but the kids are working hard, and they're awesome kids, and they're working their tails off. And they earned their first win last night when nobody thought we could win. So that was a great win, great team win, great program win for us.
Coach Dwayne Sigsbury, head coach at Billerica, 1-0 after a 54-49 win last night. Huge thank you for getting on to the premiere of our show here. I hope you'll spread the word there in Billerica. We're going to be on every Saturday, and definitely we'll be talking about you guys and just about the whole MVC. But huge thank you to coming on the show. And you guys are at Andover week 2. Congratulations on the week 1 win, and good luck moving forward. We hope this is just the first of many times we talk to you.
Hey, anytime you guys need me, let me know. I'll definitely come on. I love you guys for supporting high school football, because sometimes it gets a bad rap nowadays with the concussions. So doing things like this, I support football for everybody, so we appreciate it.
Awesome, Dwayne.
You got it. Again,
Thanks a lot.
thank you, Coach. That's Coach Dwayne Sigsbury at Billerica Indians. 7-4 last year, 1-0 this year.
Real tough to figure out how the athletes are getting attracted over there, huh? With his attitude.
Yeah, seriously.
Honest to God.
That's somebody you want to be playing for.
The guy's infectious. He's won at every level, in different sports, and you see why. He motivates the kids. He makes it fun. Basketball on turf, love it. I love it. Basketball on turf, great stuff.
So we will take a quick break here on the premiere of MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. We are awaiting now, Jake. If you were calling in, and
I pushed him on calling back. We got Jake at 12:40 coming.
12:40. All right. So we will take a quick break here. We'll talk to the quarterback of North Andover, Jake McElroy, after the break here on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance.
Everyone is cashing in on social media, and all marketing roads lead through social media. If you want to make a splash here in the Merrimack Valley, you need to tap in. This is where the new CEM podcast studios come in. Of course, you can spend your time, energy, and money learning how to wrangle technology to make a podcast instead of running your business. Or you can invest in telling everyone in the Merrimack Valley, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, the Seacoast, or everywhere in the world about your great business, product, service, or yourself. The CEM Podcast Studio is a local audio and video studio dedicated to the craft of podcasts. Their studios feature state-of-the-art recording and mixing equipment designed specifically to produce the best audio and video podcasts. Best of all you need to worry about is your show, your business, and your brand. We do the rest. Call 978-686-9966. That's 978-686-9966 to schedule a no-obligation tour of the CEM facilities and meet with a podcast specialist. Or go to CEMpodcast.com to find out more about podcasting services. CEMpodcast.com, your window to the world.
I love talking about my man, Val Davila. It's a dream to own your own business, and Val and Susan Davila made that a reality in February 2013. They started with just 2 insurance carriers, but now Right in Place Insurance for Progressive, Safeco, Pilgrim, Plymouth Rock, and Mapfre, just to name a few. Need auto insurance, renters, commercial, or home? Davila and DeFusco prides itself in having lifelong roots in the Merrimack Valley. Put their experience to work for you. Visit them at 225 Broadway or call 978-241-7950 for a free quote, or visit them online at daviladefusco.com. Back here on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. Tim Wood, Hector Longo, and you here on the premiere. Now, as we said, we're spreading the word on this. Catch it online throughout the week. We're gonna, the interviews that we have aren't gonna get stale. So stream it online. Tell your friends. Spread the word. Share the page MVC Gridiron Weekly on Facebook. Search for MVC Gridiron Weekly. Please like the page, share the page, spread the word. All right, so moving right along here on the premiere, we've got on the line with us now the quarterback for the North Andover Scarlet Knights. Basketball star, football star, big win last night, 35-7 over Woburn. Jake McElroy, how are you, sir? It's Tim Wood and Hector Longo here at MVC Gridiron Weekly.
How you doing, guys?
Hey, Jake.
Very, very good. So huge win for you guys last night. How did it feel just to get the gang back together and get the cobwebs off a little bit and get going here against Woburn?
It was awesome. We've been waiting for opening night since last Thanksgiving, and we wanted to set it off on the right tone, and we did that.
Didn't waste any time, right? You guys, you and Gabe D'Souza got right down to business right out of the gate.
Yep, second play.
Jake, I was Googling the NFL passing efficiency calculator, and I found out that 404 for 124 yards and 3 TDs. It turns out to be 162,323.7. Now, seriously, a basic perfect night for you guys last night. It has to feel good to come out of the gate and be that sharp.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, I credit that stat to Gabe. He makes it easy for me. I just put it in his vicinity, and I have confidence that he's going to get it, so it's pretty easy for me.
Now, it's early in the season, but you guys have been the talk of the league. Clearly, you guys are the favorite in the division. How does it feel to be walking around like as marked men?
It's fine. We expect this. I mean, we knew we're good, but we know we still have to put in the work, and nothing's going to be handed to us. We got to come up, practice every day, show up every Friday night, no matter who the opponent is, and just get the job done.
Jake, tell me a little bit just in terms of what it was like to have Gabe back just after what you went through in that D1 North final, you know, seeing what happened to him and to get him back on the field last night.
It was awesome. I know he's been waiting for that moment for a long time, and to have him back after what happened to him is awesome. I feel really good for him. He was down in the dumps when it happened, and he's just been waiting to get back out there.
Now, for those who don't know, Gabe suffered a collapse on the field, diagnosed with an arrhythmia, had heart surgery, and back stronger than ever. You know, I was amused, and I saw it during the basketball season. You know, he's usually feeding you during basketball season, and now you're feeding him.
Yeah. It works like that, I guess, sometimes, and it works out well for us.
Now, Jake, the other guy in your backfield you know pretty well. I think I've seen you two together on a basketball court since you're probably 10 or 11, maybe even earlier than that. That's Darren Watson. He's an exceptional athlete on the ground. His brother, Tayshawn, had a great high school career. What's it like with Darren being back there? How well do you guys know each other?
Me and Darren have been playing with each other since 4th grade. It started off in basketball, and it's gone all the way up to high school. And whether it's we're teammates in spike ball in the backyard or in a high school game, we are on the same page, and it's awesome to play with them.
Now, you're kind of a throwback here, Jake. Point guard on the basketball team, quarterback, and the shortstop in baseball. 3-sporter at all 3 at top levels. When did you make the decision that you were to keep going with all those 3, and why?
I don't think it ever crossed my mind that I was gonna ever stop one of them. I couldn't imagine my career without one of them. That's just who I am, I guess.
Now, you broke a few hearts in North Andover when you were in the 8th grade and told some people and decided that you were going to Brooks School. I think everybody in the world had you wearing red and black and being the next guy in North Andover. And then you came back after a year at Brooks. Can you give us some insight into why you made the decision to come back and how happy you are with it?
I mean, I thought it was a good experience being there for a year. But, I mean, deep down I knew I'm a North Andover kid, and that's where I knew pretty quickly after a couple of months at Brooks that North Andover was where I wanted to be, and it's been great ever since I've came back. So they've welcomed me back with open arms.
We're here with Jake McElroy, quarterback of North Andover here on MVC Gridiron Weekly. Jake, tell us just a little bit about the defense. The defense just stifled Woburn last night, and Mike Roach came up huge, but I mean the entire defense really performed for you.
Yeah, that was awesome. I mean, Coach Barry and Coach Cerullo and Coach Van Horn have that defense on point. They don't let up much, and it's awesome to have.
Are you playing D2, Jake?
I'm not.
So you're allowed some time off the field? It's okay with that? You're okay with that? To be not competing?
Yeah, I mean, normally I try to come play defense on the last week at Thanksgiving, but besides that, I'm strictly offense.
I think Coach Tangus called in and said, no, thank you on that.
Just QB.
You're okay with that one. hey, how about looking ahead? Next week you got Lowell, a team that put up 49 points the other night. That's got to be an eye-popping event for you guys.
Yeah, I think it'll be a good test for us. They got a high-powered offense, and I think our defense will hold their own, and it'll be a good game. I haven't watched their film yet, but I know they're a tough city team, so we'll see.
Hey, Jake, give us a little love for the unsung heroes. Tell us a little bit about your offensive line.
Oh, they were awesome. They worked very hard this week preparing for Woburn, and
who are those guys?
They really paid off. We got at center Johnny Cox, and right guard Billy Reed, right tackle Tim Iannarone, left guard's Matt Samonuk, and left tackle is Jack Roach.
Good stuff, Jake. Hey, now, we never had this problem because, first of all, I was never the star athlete in high school, and second of all, we played on Saturday afternoons. What does the big Friday Night Hero do on a Saturday? Do you work, get right back to the game? Do you take some time away? What do you do on a day like today?
I'll normally wake up, get some breakfast somewhere with our teammates, and then get right onto the college football at 12. Starts at 12. We'll start watching college football all day, pretty much.
Now, Tim, Jake's dad, John, was a not-so-legendary North Andover high school athlete back in the day. but he's also quite the food connoisseur. Jake, where did we send you to breakfast today? Did you get anything special today? Or
I actually went to Duffy's today in Haverhill. I got 2 pancakes, 2 eggs over easy, and a piece of ham and a piece of bacon.
See, I knew the kid would know how to eat.
Well done. A+ grade today, or what do you grade Duffy's today?
Oh, the food was phenomenal today.
Awesome.
Good stuff, Jake.
North Andover quarterback Jake McElroy, huge congratulations at the start of the season. Hope you'll make MVC Gridiron Weekly part of the Saturday morning tradition now too, and just a huge thanks for calling into the premiere. Spread the word to the teammates, to the families. Let them know we're going to be on every Saturday.
Awesome job, Jake.
Thank you.
Great work.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you down the road.
That is North Andover quarterback Jake McElroy. Again, great get, Hector. That's a guy you want to hear from. He's not just one of on paper stars of the conference coming out of the gate this year. As you said to me, just one of the great kids.
Yeah, Tim, in an era where parents are pushing the kids to score points in youth basketball and kids are worried about their stats for the newspaper, I'll always remember Jake because when he played AAU with my son, who was not the best player on the floor, probably the worst, he found a way to get my son shots. He was the only point guard on the planet that could do that. But he found a way to get my son shots. And I always respected Jake because he spread the ball around. He knew he was one of those guys that just knew.
The court general wasn't a ball hog. Wasn't a me first guy.
And he was the best scorer you'd see on the floor that day.
Yeah.
But he knew, get the ball to the other guys, the shots will come back to me. And if a kid's that mature and knows that in the 5th grade, you're just like, you know he's going to be something special.
You just want to keep him on that track and
right.
keep the mind in that. And clearly they've done that. Doesn't sound like it's been too hard with him.
No, he plays that way now. Like in basketball, they have to tell him to shoot. They have to tell him to create. He's that unselfish. He's a great kid.
And he really is. I mean, I broadcast a couple of the Methuen North Andover games last year, including during the Classic. And boy, what a star! Yeah, what a star.
And they'll be good again this year because him and Darren are both back.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Darren Watson. We'll get to some star performers after the break here, but we've got one more guest scheduled here coming up. What time did you say? Doesn't matter on the time.
Yeah, I mean, about 5 minutes away.
Okay, so we'll take a quick break. We will come back after the break, talk about some star performers ahead of talking to Haverhill head coach Tim O'Connor. You are watching, listening, experiencing the premiere episode of MVC Gridiron Weekly presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. We will be right back after the break.
Everyone is cashing in on social media, and all marketing roads lead through social media. If you want to make a splash here in the Merrimack Valley, you need to tap in. This is where the new CEM podcast studios come in. Of course, you can spend your time, energy, and money learning how to wrangle technology to make a podcast instead of running your business. Or you can invest in telling everyone in the Merrimack Valley, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, the Seacoast, or everywhere in the world about your great business, product, service, or yourself. The CEM podcast studio is a local audio and video studio dedicated to the craft of podcasts. Their studios feature state-of-the-art recording and mixing equipment designed specifically to produce the best audio and video podcast. Best of all you need to worry about is your show, your business, and your brand. We do the rest. Call 978-686-9966. That's 978-686-9966 to schedule a no-obligation tour of the CEM facilities and meet with a podcast specialist. Or go to CEMpodcast.com to find out more about podcasting services. CEMpodcast.com, your window to the world.
I love talking about my man, Val Davila. It's a dream to own your own business, and Val and Susan Davila made that a reality in February 2013. They started with just 2 insurance carriers, but now Right in Place Insurance for Progressive, Safeco, Pilgrim, Plymouth Rock, and Mapfre, just to name a few. Need auto insurance, renters, commercial, or home? Davila and DeFusco prides itself in having lifelong roots in the Merrimack Valley. Put their experience to work for you. Visit them at 225 Broadway or call 978-241-7950 for a free quote, or visit them online at daviladefusco.com. Back here on MVC Gridiron Weekly presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. You too can be part of the show. We're talking to you businesses around the Merrimack Valley. You want to be part of MVC Gridiron Weekly? Contact me, Tim at loopweekly.com. Tim at loopweekly.com, or call me, 978-683-8800. I promise you we will promote the bejesus out of you on this show. And, huge support for the MVC all around the Valley. And, we're just excited to be here to start this show, MVC Gridiron Weekly. Want to just give a quick shout out to John Houlihan. Instant messaged us during the show and said thanks for the mention. Absolutely, sir. We will definitely be talking a lot of Indians football during the season. But now we will shift as the frantic pace of the first episode moves on. We have the head coach of the Haverhill Hillies, Tim O'Connor. Tim, it's another Tim Wood and Hector Longo here on MVC Gridiron Weekly. How are you, Coach?
I'm doing pretty well, all things considered.
So, all things considered, what did you see? What did you see out of your team last night? I mean, you were going David Goliath last night. As I saw a lot of the kind of the promotion on social media heading into that game. But what do you take in terms of positives out of last night's game?
There wasn't much positives. The only thing we can do is just move on, turn the page, and just get better. That's all we're doing today. We're looking at our wounds. We're realizing that we are not as good or as physical as we thought we were, and that we need to make corrections as soon as possible to get ready for the grind of the MVC with Chelmsford next week.
Tim, in years past, you guys, I know I've been to scrimmages with you guys in the prep up there. What makes you put them on the schedule and wanting to play a team like that?
I think it's just competition. We're in the Division I North. All due respect to some of the smaller schools in the area, I can probably play them and probably do pretty well. I'd rather take my licks and let my boys see what big-time football is all about. I know I went there. I know what it's all about. I know the program. I like the atmosphere, and I think that for a week one opponent, it's probably not the best matchup for us, but I think in the long haul, it benefits us later on down the road, whether it's week 5 or week 8. And we see where we stand. It's a barometer, and I think right now we realize that we have a lot to do.
You said heading into the game that the first one to 21 was gonna win this, and it happened.
Yeah, they had 22 in 7 minutes. So yeah, yeah, that was our goal. I mean, we're the first one went on a spread fast-paced team. We're more a plotting type offense and try to play physical football that we had in the past. But when you have 3 turnovers in 4 offensive plays and 3 of them all inside the 20, you're bound to things aren't bound to turn out so well for you. I was proud of the defense. They had a turnover. They went 4 and out. We stopped them, and I'm like, okay, we're right back in this. We're good. We're ready to go. And then we have another mental breakdown, and that's on both the coaches and the players. It's not just us. The players have to take some accountability. Like I told them this morning, you need to own up to your mistakes. When the toss hits you in the face mask, it's not us catching the ball at you. So,
Tim, 9 years at Haverhill High, you kind of you've been to the highest of highs. I think about nights where you're packing the joint against Central Catholic and nobody's on their seat. Everybody's standing watching the whole thing. And you came in and it was not at the highest point in the world. It might have been on a downslope. Where do you guys stand now? Do you feel like the program is in a good spot? I mean, you obviously had that incredible senior class 2 years ago. Last year you rebuilt. Where do you see the program at right now?
I see the program in a good place. I think we need to, get better as individuals and as a football team. But in regards to the program, the toys, the uniforms, the kids participating, the grades, doing the right thing in the classroom, we're pretty good there. I just think that as a football team, we need to build off of last year, get better, and then hopefully just get better every week. I know the freshman team is we have light numbers this year. The football numbers everywhere are hurting. We only have 24, 25 freshmen, but they beat the prep today 18-0. So that's a positive because in my 5 years of freshman playing, they've never beaten them. So we won 18-0. There's some talent there. He's just also trying to find the right pieces.
Okay, so now you mentioned the toys. You open the door for me, and I will walk right in. These are the new look Hillies of 2018, sporting white helmets as opposed to the traditional gold.
Yep.
Talked about that. Any reason why, and how's it being received?
Look good, feel good, play good. I try to reinvent the image as much as I can every year. I let the kids take some ownership of it. I think they're vested in it when they have some say in picking color schemes and all that stuff. I have final say. We try to keep to the traditional brown and gold. I'm sure some of the old timers are not thrilled with the white helmets, but there are brown and gold in those helmets, and I must say they look pretty sexy. I think they look good. The kids look good. I mean, we looked good last night right before the start. We looked solid, all white and white helmets, but it's what the kids want. Ultimately we're here for the kids, and whether I like it or not, being a dinosaur, and whether it's double wing or how I play defense or offense, you want the kids to be happy. And it's little things like that, especially in an urban district. Tom O'Brien does a great job of giving me whatever I need. Former Superintendent Jim Scully was unbelievable, no questions asked. But ultimately, it comes down to making the kids happy. I know some people higher up might not like it, but I respect their opinion, but I'm here for the kids first and them second. I
knew Coach O'Connor would work at Haverhill when, back in the day, the Hillies would be in front. They would be on the home sideline in front of the stands, right near the stands. Coach noticed that might be an issue on Friday nights with kids losing distraction. He puts his team away from the stands now. At Haverhill Stadium, there are stands only on one side. He puts his team on the opposite side of the field. I found that totally unique, and it worked like, why it was a tremendous move. And obviously, Tim, you see it on your sidelines. Your kids are engaged and focused, and it's a small thing in a lot of people's eyes. I look at that as a very unique way to change the mindset of kids.
Yep. I mean, it's simple things as, you notice in practice. Like, I noticed the past week, we're always doing team offense on the 40 going in one way. I'm like, something? After this past week, we're going to change it up and go next week. Kids will freak out because it's changed, but something? You got to do it. You got to keep it fresh. You got to keep reinventing yourself. If you don't, you're going to get left behind, especially in the MVC.
This is because Coach O'Connor is the first branch of the Eric Mangini coaching tree, so that must be where he learned all this changing.
Yeah, well, I love Eric, but I haven't spoken to Eric in a few years. He made the big time. I saw him last week on Ballers on HBO, and he hasn't returned my call.
How crazy is that, right? Like, how did you not get in the cameo there?
Yeah, well, first of all, if you know anything about Eric, like I do, I haven't, like I said, I haven't spoken to him many years, but the fact that he was on HBO is kind of shocking to me, to say the least. I spent many Saturday nights with him. Surprised he made it to HBO, but good for him.
So he's building his IMDb because he was on The Sopranos too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, good for him. I can piggyback on that after my Hilly days.
Now, Coach O'Connor was a fraternity brother of Eric Mangini back in the days.
Yes,
that's the only reason I bring that up.
So, Coach, how's it feel in terms of keeping the tradition in the program? How's it feel to have Jeremiah Arriaga back in terms of coaching?
Well, I mean, I didn't coach Jeremiah. Former coach did. I mean, he's been a great addition to the freshman staff. He's positive. He's played the game. He still plays a little semi-pro football. Some of the kids tease him a little bit because sometimes he'll come on the practice uniform and practice routes on the field when no one's around. But he's a solid addition. I'm glad to have him.
I mean, and the other thing, I guess, your team kept working last night. I mean, DJ Cunningham with the 89-yard kickoff return, Hunter Prescott with the 53-yard run. I mean, they kept working right till the end.
They did. They had some success, but I need to remind them that was not the starting prep team. I kept them out there to send a message that they're not going to stop fighting to the end. Some people probably want me to put 2s and 3s in, but we have obviously too much work to do, and whether it's a down block or stepping with the right foot, those ones need to be out there and getting the reps to get better. Because last night was painful. I mean, personally and as a team, and as an alum of St. John's Prep, it hurts me even more because I know how much better we can be. But, we'll move on, and, we're looking at wounds, watching film right now. My 2 coordinators in there, and we'll get ready for Chelmsford.
Yeah, on the road next week. Can you tell us about that? Do you know much about them, or you have not delved into them yet?
We haven't played them in several years. I know they have a new head coach. Bruce Rich is gone. There was a more spread, less power game. But it's Chelmsford. It's a Route 3 trip on a Friday night in early September, so it'll probably take us 5 hours to get there. Bus fumes and all.
Scenic, scenic.
Yeah, the scenic Route 3, and then the lovely walk 4 miles away from the cafeteria to the field. Through the lovely woods of Chelmsford to play football.
They take care of the guests well, huh?
They do. I love walking through, and always consider myself maybe stopping and get some cotton candy to add to my waistline and continue on. But we'll see how it goes. We'll work hard and we'll show up. That I can promise you. And the product next week will be a lot better. And if not, we'll make changes as necessary.
See, it all comes back to food, Coach. I was just going to say, for Hilly fans, there's always Sully's ice cream on the way in. So, and it's still ice cream season.
There is. There's plenty of places in Haverhill too.
All right, sounds good, Tim.
Coach Tim O'Connor, huge thank you for joining the premiere of MVC Gridiron Weekly. Please spread the word in Haverhill in terms of we'll be on Saturday mornings and doing stuff all throughout the week on Facebook, but Saturday mornings, and huge appreciation for you joining us on the premiere here.
Oh, my pleasure. If you need anything else, guys, let me know. God bless.
Thank you.
Absolutely. That's head coach Tim O'Connor, Haverhill Hillies. Tough loss, 43-14 last night to St. John's Prep, but you get to the film study. They've got somebody's going to have a win after next week against Chelmsford. Chelmsford had a tough opener against Acton Boxborough as well. So I probably a little bit more even on the talent level coming into that game.
Yeah, and the one thing about Coach O is they do have that work ethic there. They'll be back on Monday with the kids, and he's got a good staff. I love the old school effort from Mr. Goby, who's the offensive line coach, Dan Goby, who's just a super offensive line guy, kind of the Scarnecchia, if you will, of Haverhill. Been around forever. They're going to be tough. He talks about their team. He's challenging his team right now, not being physical enough with St. John's Prep. We got it, but you know something? For years, they've been a smash mouth, run it down your throat kind of successful team, and I'm sure they'll be back. And again, they'll be in the mix. The MVC Large, or East plus Low, as I like to call it. It's a division that's there for the taking, and I think in the end, Haverhill's going to be in the mix with everyone else.
I mean, you talked about it when we were talking about this Wednesday night. I mean, this is if we're going to start this show at any time in terms of parity,
sure,
in terms of maybe some opportunities for a lot of different teams to be in the mix.
Right.
This is the year.
You know, we haven't even mentioned the Red Menace, and I say that as a Central Catholic graduate. I can say that Central Catholic is in the room, and but this is not a gigantic Central super team like they have had in the past. This is not a Central team that you'd say
they lost some talent.
Can't wait to see Everett, you know, in the playoffs. This is a Central team that is going to be in the mix with the Methuens and the Andovers and the Haverhills on a Friday to Friday basis in this league. It makes, like you say, for great drama on that side.
I think you know, Coach, and hopefully we'll get Coach Adamopoulos on throughout the season here, but he'd probably have something to say about that in terms of taking the crown from them.
Yeah, no. Look, you know, I would say it does go through Central on most years, but you know, you don't just flip the switch and replace Brad Edwards.
Yeah, and
he had a talented cast around him. I mean, just take a look at the UNH roster. It's not just Brett, from Mike Balsamo and DeAndre Drummond, Myrie, on down. Central's a feeder program for UNH now.
Absolutely.
And UNH is the premier Division I AA or FCS program in New England or the Northeast right now. They were a top 10 team ranked nationally in the preseason, suffered a tough loss when they lost their quarterback in the opener, but still, Central Catholic has a lot to do with that, and they have for years and years and years under Coach A. So there's talent there, and I think we saw it in their opener Friday night, beating a team like Dartmouth 48-6 like they did. They showed a lot of bright lights. Jared Silverio at quarterback stepped right in, 7 of 9, 87 yards.
We'll get to the star performance. We're going to take one more break. Take one more break here.
It's a simple thing, Tim. We got to talk about it at some point.
Exactly. We're going until 1:15. We will take a quick last break. We'll come back. We'll talk star performers
and a look ahead.
We'll do that after the break here on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. I love talking about my man Val Davila. It's a dream to own your own business, and Val and Susan Davila made that a reality in February 2013. They started with just 2 insurance carriers, but now Right in Place Insurance for Progressive, Safeco, Pilgrim, Plymouth Rock, and Mapfre, just to name a few. Need auto insurance, renters, commercial, or home? Davila and DeFusco prides itself in having lifelong roots in the Merrimack Valley. Put their experience to work for you. Visit them at 225 Broadway or call 978-241-7950 for a free quote, or visit them online at daviladefusco.com.
Everyone is cashing in on social media, and all marketing roads lead through social media. If you want to make a splash here in the Merrimack Valley, you need to tap in. This is where the new CEM podcast studios come in. Of course, you can spend your time, energy, and money learning how to wrangle technology to make a podcast instead of running your business. Or you can invest in telling everyone in the Merrimack Valley, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, the Seacoast, or everywhere in the world about your great business, product, service, or yourself. The CEM podcast studio is a local audio and video studio dedicated to the craft of podcast. Their studios feature state-of-the-art recording and mixing equipment designed specifically to produce the best audio and video podcast. Best of all you need to worry about is your show, your business, and your brand. We do the rest. Call 978-686-9966. That's 978-686-9966 to schedule a no-obligation tour of the CEM facilities and meet with a podcast specialist. Or go to CEMpodcast.com to find out more about podcasting services. CEMpodcast.com, your window to the world.
Back here on the premiere of MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. Tim Wood, Hector Longo. It does not appear that we will be getting Bill Bryant. He just texted my. He's at a wedding. He had a game last night at Malden Catholic, and then hit the road. I think. What did he say? Maryland?
Virginia. How's he going to Virginia?
That's
overnight?
crazy. So he made it. He said his service is blank and awful. So blank. My texts are barely coming in right now. I could try, but not working well. We just got set up. So we'll get Bill back in the studio next week. Fresh off of the Tewksbury-Methuen game. So let's talk some star performers. What jumped off the page in terms of performances for you this week?
Well, the Ty performance from Lowell was just flat-out monstrous. Brendan Ty, not to be confused with Kevin Ty. Brendan Ty was dynamite in a losing effort. I mean, 161 rushing, 3 rushing TDs, 7 catches, 150 yards. 2 TDs, had an interception.
I didn't even mention the interception, and yeah.
In an interception return for a TD. Just a, spectacular game. The kid is going to bring it every week for Lowell, and that's going to keep the Red Raiders in games week after week.
So we mentioned Nolan Houlihan, 320 yards passing, 6 touchdowns. Colby Cyrus for Bill Ricca as well, 3 touchdown receptions. Rob Moore for Bill Ricca, 126 yards rushing and a touchdown. Tewksbury, big opener. Jay Connolly.
Breakthrough performance for Jay.
Yeah.
I mean, again, there were apprehensions about what Tewksbury had in their camp. They weren't sure. Jay Connolly, 8 of 12, 222. And throwing to Shane Elwood, had a big day, 4 catches, 187 yards. Kind of eased the apprehensions in the staff did. Again, it is Tewksbury.
And they've got, and we'll talk a little bit about it. They got a matchup. There's a lot of history, current history now between Tewksbury with Ron Druin, AD over there. Tom Ryan, the Methuen coached at Tewksbury. So and a great game last year, but we'll talk about that in a second. You mentioned him, Jared Silverio from Central Catholic, 7-9, 87 yards passing, 2 touchdowns passing, 67 yards rushing in his first varsity start, taking over for Brett Edwards, as you mentioned, at UNH now, but promising start for Silverio.
Oh, absolutely. And look, they played a lot of kids on Friday night. They played a ton of kids. They got a little offense on the ground from Anthony Cadronelli, 5 carries for 75 yards. But I want to just throw this name out there now just to be the first, okay? Because he's a kid who grew up in the Masco junior high system, and we lost him to Central Catholic, but one Jermaine Wiggins.
Yes.
Is starting at receiver or tight end.
Tight end, outside linebacker.
And linebacker for them. Had a big day on both sides of the ball. Jermaine is a budding athlete. I knowing his father from back in the Super Bowl days, I lobbied heavily for Jermaine.
He is the son of former Patriots.
Right. Patriots tight end and snowball hero Jermaine Wiggins. I lobbied heavily for him to stay in our program at Masconomet simply because I knew he'd be a heck of a basketball talent. But the kid is a Division I football prospect already as a sophomore, and his father knew that he wanted to play at a higher level of football. He wanted to play at Division I, and that's how they found Central Catholic.
You get him to Central Catholic, yeah.
So there is a connection there, too, with one of his neighbors, former Central Catholic quarterback Mark Ciccarelli, whose son is also in the Central program, a young star in the defensive backfield. Jermaine is going to be a real player over there at Central Catholic for the next 3 years. He's a building block kid with not only superior talent, but a tremendous work ethic and attitude.
He's a sophomore?
Yes, he's got his father's work ethic. obviously Jermaine was an overachiever as an athlete back in the day, making the pros out of East Boston, and the kid has the same kind of work ethic. He's going to be a player for them. So just wanted to bring that up.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned Caganelli. He also had a touchdown, a stripped ball touchdown, went 19 yards after stripping the ball. That put him up 35-0 at the half in a 48-6 win over Dartmouth. So also, let me see where I had it on the page. Nick Donadio grabbed a 16-yard touchdown pass. Also, and Cameron Bowes got a touchdown pass from Silverio as well.
Yeah, look, it might take Central a few weeks to find their stride. They have some leadership in the defensive backfield with a kid like Bowes. Michael Lefebvre has been as a returning starter for them. So they have some kids back. It just might take some time for the roles to be filled.
We mentioned Jake McElroy, as you said, 4 for 4, the off-the-charts QB rating, 3 touchdown passes. Gabe D'Souza, 3 TD receptions, 124 yards receiving in his return. Also had an interception 10 months after the collapse in the title game, and then the heart surgery afterwards. Great to see him back. Darren Watson, 7 carries, 92 yards, 2 rushing TDs for North Andover. We mentioned Methuen. Ricky Brutus, 10 carries, 102 yards, 5 touchdowns for Methuen in his varsity premiere. Connor Bryant. Now you talk about middling high school talent. Bill was a quarterback back in the day as well. Didn't quite see a whole lot of field time, but Connor did the Rangers proud last night.
I believe when I met Bill, it was, "Hi, I'm Bill Bryant. I played at Lawrence High." Was the second words out of his mouth. So yes, I did hear about.
He wanted to see if it registered with you.
I'm not that old, Tim. Talking about the Rangers for a second, though, I had a couple of spies there for that one who told me that, we've given Mr. Surth, Aaron Surth, and Ian McKinnon on the offensive line. I heard my man Sam Ferrullo at right guard had a pretty big game for the Rangers on Friday night against Malden Catholic.
Great catch on that. Absolutely, Ferrullo's a beast.
And if I had to give you a warning sign for the Rangers,
now your man, what's the connection?
No connection. I just
a fan.
Yes, exactly. I'm a fan of any lineman, Tim.
Yeah.
And I also threw it out there that keep an eye on the rising sophomore, Anthony Romano. I think he had 5 tackles on Friday night, and he is going to be a good one, I am told. So,
after last year, they finished. They had a great middle of the season. Disappointing end, and that loss to Drake on Thanksgiving was a little bit of a shocker. I mean, after the playoff game, it was you still want to see them get up for that. They lost. They've got a lot of young talent there. We got a lot of young talent in Methuen, and getting off to that 1-0 start. I saw a lot of predictions. Had no idea what to make of Methuen. Couple of predictions even had them losing to Malden Catholic. Not quite a loss. 41-16 win, and they've got Tewksbury. They've got Tewksbury at home next Friday night. 22-19 loss to Tewksbury last year. That was a crushing loss. You want to talk about how you want to get your season started. They definitely had a W penciled in their heads there, and that was. That was a spot where I think that was a wake-up call that they had a lot more work to do, a lot of mistakes in that game, a lot of back and forth. But I would imagine guys like Aaron and West Korea, some of those veterans got this game circled.
Sure. I mean, look, Tewksbury is a really tough place to play.
Yeah.
It's I don't know what they maybe they do something in the locker rooms there. The home team is always ready to play there.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. It's always ready to play. So Methuen's at home this Friday, in this one on a Friday night instead of a Saturday. I just think that, like you say, they will be focused on a game like that.
And then we also want to mention Drake with a big win last night. Alan French, 10 carries, 138 yards and a touchdown, and then Devin Lambert, the quarterback, 12 for 22, 173 yards, passing 3 passing TDs, 1 rushing TD.
Yeah, they dominated Westford in that one.
They did.
I think that might have been a surprise to a lot of people, but in sort of the same vein as we talked about earlier with Bill Ricca, when Drake gets good, that makes this league so much better.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it just top to bottom. All of a sudden, when you can count on a game from Drake, that just makes every week even more important on the schedule.
4-6 last year, but, that win to end the season for them in that rivalry, that meant a lot for sure, and got them feeling good over the offseason, and obviously off to a 1-0 start. They are at Lawrence next week. It's gonna, that again. You talk about in conference. That's gonna be another sort of kind of litmus test game in terms of what we're gonna see out of those two teams in their divisions.
New coaching staff taking over at Lawrence. Randy Audate's there now, and you get the feeling that the word desperation is going to be pretty big around Veterans Memorial Stadium this week as they prepare for this. I think that's a group that needs something good to happen after the first week. I think there was a little promise. And they're going to be okay, but to build that, yes, we can win, would be a huge thing with Drake. Now, look, their offensive line has to play better. Jacob Tamayo I think he was sacked 4 times for a loss of 40 yards. They have to do a better job of that, in their Friday night loss, at Tewksbury. They have to do a better job protecting him. If he has time and they can run the football a little bit better, that's not a bad look for Lawrence, but it starts up front for them.
So in terms of looking ahead towards week 2, Bill Ricca at Andover, what do you make of that? What do you make of that game?
Again, you're looking at 2 offensive-minded coaches in E.J. Perry and Dwayne Sigsbury. It's on turf at Andover, lovely field, so it will be fast. I think Andover was down 21-10 and still in the game at 3 quarters at Franklin. That's a tough trip, so you're going to see better out of Andover. Is it Jacob Ramos had a big day for them on the ground? Josh Ramos, Jacob Ramos. I am sorry. I believe
it's Jacob Ramos.
But they're going to be okay moving the ball at home. The team it might end up being like the Super Bowl a little bit, whereas Josh Ramos. So the team that makes the 1 or 2 stops will be the difference there. But if you're looking for a fun game, again, I don't know if you're going to find a better price of admission than that.
And by the way, apologies to Josh Ramos for leaving him out of star performers. 169 yards on 31 attempts. He was
a bell cow. He was a bell cow for them. And again, Coach Perry thought they'd use him more, but they were down and had to throw a little bit more. They threw the ball around. I think they had 5 interceptions, very costly. But we got to give a shout out to my man Seamus Florio, 43-yard field goal in the opener. That's legit 43-yarder. So for Andover.
Absolutely.
So just thinking that way, that was there were positives in that week for Andover. And
then you've got we talked Tewksbury, Methuen. What do you think is the key in that game?
Look, Methuen's, I think Ian McKinnon has said it a couple times. Methuen's good up front. They're strong. They're physical. I think they have a chance to take the game over that way. If they can establish that, they get Tewksbury on the back pedal. All of a sudden, all the tricks and the schemes that Tewksbury has been so noted for to keep them in games against teams where they probably were a little overmatched, those go away when you just can run it down a team's throat. So I think if Methuen's front can establish themselves, it might be a long night for Tewksbury. But again, if Tewksbury can get to the edge, do some things, now you're talking.
And then finally, Central Catholic at St. John's Prep. Two powerhouses on paper.
Yeah. Early litmus test for Central, right?
They beat them 21-0 last year.
I think Coach A would want to see them maybe in week 5 or 6 as opposed to week 2. Too bad
in this kind of year.
Yes, right. Too bad this is your schedule. Again, Central gets up for the Prep. I'm not sure the Prep always gets up for Central. There are years where they do, but Central always gets up for the Prep. That could be the key of that one.
And then with a couple of other games, we got Haverhill at Chelmsford, as we mentioned, talking to Tim O'Connor. You got Lowell at North Andover, and you've got Drake at Lawrence. So that's your lineup for week 2.
Get your calculators ready for a couple of those games because there's going to be points galore.
I tell you what, I'm excited, Hector. Good. How you feeling after week 1?
You know, I don't think it could have gone any better. The guests were great. I think people are going to be into this.
Yeah.
And I think once the word spreads, we're gonna be darn good.
We will spread the word. We hope you will spread the word as well. First week of MVC Gridiron Weekly in the books. Huge thank you to Dwayne Sigsbury, to Jake McElroy, to Tim O'Connor. Huge thank you to Lou Blassie behind the glass.
We want your input.
Yes.
We didn't mention that, Tim.
Absolutely.
We want your if you can get us your huddle clips, we want to see who's getting it done out there, right?
Absolutely.
Let us know what we can do to make us better. We want to hear from you.
We want to keep growing this show week after week, and it's going to be about your input, what you want to see on the show. If you want to see one of your players on the show, hit us up on the Facebook page. Hit us up on social media, at MVC Gridiron Week on Twitter as well. And listen, we're going to listen to you. We go where the people want us.
Absolutely.
So very excited to get this started. Huge thank you to Davila and DeFusco Insurance. And to you, spread the word. We will be back next Saturday talking MVC football here on MVC Gridiron Weekly, presented by Davila and DeFusco Insurance. Tim Wood, Hector Longo. See you next week.